Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 100 Pounders special focus meeting of Overeaters Anonymous. My name is Rita Q. Today is Wednesday, the 31st of May, 2023, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Lewis S., who's come to speak to us from LA. Lewis first came to OA in 2016. He was born and raised in Chicago, a very important point, but now lives in Los Angeles, and he has been there since 2012. So, Lewis, I'm going to let it over to you, leave it to you now to tell us your experience, strength, and hope. Take it away.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Or good morning for me, good afternoon for some of you, and happy midday lunchtime for some of the other ones. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Rita, for asking me to be here. Can't say no to you. I'm at work, so you might see me kind of wave off some people. Of course, I'm right next to a big window, and people still knock. But that's okay. Welcome to the newcomers. If anyone's here that's new. You might hear some wacky stuff. I might cry a little bit. I tend to be a crier. I did. Well, I wasn't before, but I am now. My name's Lewis. I'm a compulsive overeater, and I just celebrated 7 years. I had my OA birthday a couple weeks ago. On the 11th, continuous abstinence and only a few years of kind of not as crazy brain. It's lessened, but wacky thoughts still pop in. Before I get into all that, let me just give you some quick stats and share some pictures. Let's see. I swear, every time I do this, I feel like it's like the first time I'm sharing, and I'm like, is this the right button? Okay. Here we go. If not sure if you're listening to this later on in the recording session, but I'm showing off some pictures of me at close to my highest weight, well over 380 pounds. Some of you might have seen these before, but every time I see them, I forget that I was that size. So this is why I'm so glad that I get to share these with you guys, just to remember I can't shut the door on the past. Even nice clothes, some fun stuff I was doing. I was working at a very fun, popular hip hop station in Chicago, and having this like incredible life that other people would call incredible, but I don't remember a lot of it. But heavy, no neck. It's just a head on a big body, and incredibly sad. I was eating and drinking at this point. I was just kind of getting through life. Not a lot of fun. A lot of self-will run riot. I was the big bull, the big dog. I was the bull in the china shop at work. At home, I was, nuking relationships left and right with friends and family, and not a great time generally. Here's a few years later. I I always joke about the damn cardigans. I got to find pictures where I don't have the same gray cardigan. But anyway, here I dropped down to about, I don't know, 170 or something like that. But, absolutely bat crap crazy. Look at this. Like, these eyes are just crazed, very much in self-will, very much self-will run riot, very, very, very much with a lot of great ideas, failing at them and then blaming everyone else. I do miss that Star Wars shirt though. And this is why I show those pictures, because this ain't about the weight for me, right? I might have come in, because I was being 313 pounds or 20, whatever, 330 when I came back. But like in these photos, but here I am doing the thing where I'm, and you can tell me if I'm the only one, where I would layer up clothing so you couldn't tell how big I was, or me hiding behind a table like I'm sitting here in this photo, thinking that would hide how big I was. But you can't hide 330 pounds. Can't do it. And what's crazy is the weight that I put on to get there from here was about a year. Life got hard. I had moved to a new city from Chicago to Los Angeles. My marriage was in shambles. And of course, the PR department would love to tell you that I had no part in that, destruction of marriage, but I had more than my fair share of handiwork in that. Life got hard, and I couldn't handle it, right? I couldn't deal with life on life's terms. But let's not end on a downer with the photos. Here's me and some incredible friends. There's like literally 1,000 pictures like these. These are just ones I happen to have here. I have this incredible community of people. I don't even care about the weight in this photo. I'm a 100-pounder. But that's not that's not even the important thing here. The people that I'm surrounded with, that I've stuck around to, I've latched myself onto, have been buoys, have been, life rafts. They've been candles. They've been, street lights on this path. Whatever nice metaphor you want to use. These people have been absolute lifesavers in my life. And one of the things I really want to hit on today is that is this thing of not doing things alone, because it was my favorite thing to do before this. I would love to say that it's something my parents instilled in me. They let me and my two brothers go to different schools, elementary schools, to just breed independence. And I would love to tell you that's why I ate, right? But guess what? My brothers have no problem asking for help. I would love to tell you that the reason I ate was because of some of my medical conditions that I was born with, right? Like required a crap ton of surgeries. And I would love to tell you that's why I ate, right? Oh no, it's because my dad's an alcoholic. That's why I ate, right? Or maybe because, my dad never said I love you. I'd love to tell you that's it. Because I'm bad at school, or I was bad at school. Maybe that's it. And at the end of the day, in doing this the last 7 years, I was born this way. And this is why it doesn't matter. Happy home, broken home, latchkey kid, homeschooled, it doesn't matter, right? Purple, brown, rich, poor, whatever. Here we are in the same room of how many people? 110 people, 109. Someone just dropped off. I won't take it personal. That 100 of people who normally would not mix. But here we share a common peril. And I'm glad that at the beginning, before the recording starts, there's a moment for the compulsive overeater who's still suffering in and out of these rooms. And it's so important. Before I would sit there and I'd be like, oh, let me just check my texts one last time. Right. Let me just kind of think about what my grocery list is. Let me think about who I have to call back later. And the hard thing that I had to have happen for me here was to watch 2 men die from this disease. So today I can take the time to really remember the compulsive overeater who still suffers in and out of these rooms. And in watching that happen, it's not a pretty way to go. This is a serious killing disease. I would love to tell you that it's like when I came in, I'd be like, oh, I just want to fit into this outfit. I bought these pants 2 years ago, and my goal isn't to fit into them, and blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, when I focused on the work, when I got into this, really got into this, sometimes unwillingly, right? Sometimes I had to be dragged into it. My life changed. And all I can tell you is that it's a freaking miracle. I want to tell you how it all sort of happened. I got to a point, right? The up and down, the weight up and down. I lost my brother's kidney. Because I don't know if you knew this, I have a putting on 100 pounds in less than a year. It's not great for a kidney transplant, so I've heard. I'd gotten a kidney transplant in the midst of all that. Isn't that funny? Like, that's barely a blip on the radar of all this drama and wreckage that I've caused in my past, that I'm like, oh yeah, I had a kidney transplant in 2009 that my brother gave me. I lost it a few years ago. I don't remember what year. I lost it, like maybe some 8 years later. And it was one of the hardest things I ever experienced, because of course I sat there and blame, self-doubt, and fear, and I remember sitting there that in that emergency room, thinking to myself, like, I could either keep this to myself, do what I used to do, right? Handle things in house, take care of business, and then just fill you in on how great I did with it. Or I can call my sponsor and ask for help. And it was genuine fear. Oh, the power's back. We had a power outage here in the building this morning at work, and the power just came back on. We've been running on generators. But anyway, I sat there in so much doubt and fear that I called my sponsor and just said, "What do I do?" And really, that's when God became everything for me. Um, when in how it works, there's this. It says, our stories disclosed in a general way about, what we learn, blah, 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 blah. But at some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. It took me about 3 to 4 years to let go absolutely. I was still hedging my bets with God. I was still going, maybe, yeah, he could take away the food stuff. Yeah, I'm not killing myself with food today. But man, oh man, was I still wrapped in fear. And this is after the getting into beaten into a state of reasonableness to even get into the rooms, right? To take the suggestion of my therapist to come to OA, even bawling my eyes out at my first meeting because the anorexic woman who spoke had the same story as me. It wasn't enough for me to let go absolutely. It took me being pinned up against the wall. It sounds rough. I tell people it felt like being, put up against the wall by the throat and going, dude, are you in or are you out? And I was in enough fear that day that I went all in, and I've been all in since. I thought I could find an easier, softer way. And I love that there these guys who wrote this book, these people who wrote this book years ago, right? They're begging us. Well, why would they beg us? Odds are pretty good. It's because they had a crap time with it too, right? Remember that we deal with alcohol, food, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us, right? And that's the crazy thing. If this disease sounded like someone else, if it sounded like someone I don't like, or if it sounded like the guy who cut me off in traffic and flipped me off, if it sounded like someone else, I'd be like, great, get out of here, disease. I'm not interested, right? But this thing sounds just like me. It sounds just like me, and it makes it so easy for me to co-sign on my stuff. And it's still tempting. I told you I celebrated my OA birthday a couple weeks ago. I called a fellow and asked him to give me a candle at a meeting, and the first thought that popped into my head was like, maybe he won't want to give me a candle. This is someone who I've known for 7 years, trudged this path with, not had secrets with, right? A literal brother in this program. And I still thought maybe he won't want to give me a candle. Disease sounds just like me. There is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now, right? And I've always loved that because it's like they use an exclamation point, like right now, ASAP. And I still hedge my bets for 3, 4 years. I like to joke that I've yet to meet a corner that I haven't loved to cut. I like a good shortcut, but it hasn't worked for me here with the shortcuts. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. And then here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of action. I've been very lucky where, like, of course, what's the best way to have me not do something? And that's to tell me to do it. I got to make my stumbles. I got to the pain of sitting around and waiting 6 months to do my first fourth step. Imagine trying to rip a band-aid off. I mean, the thing's practically glued to your skin, and then just trying to take it off little by little. when I could have just ripped it out. Let me tell you, every other subsequent fourth step didn't take that long. But I couldn't even trust then that my sponsor had gone through the same thing. Look at all these amazing people around us today that have walked these things that we're afraid to do still. And look at all the amazing things, the firsts that people have had once they've put the food down, right? Once they started working the steps, as these miracles and promises start to happen, all the amazing firsts start to happen, right? I was so scared and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have my first sober trip back home. Oh my God, I'm going to have my first sober day at the office. I'm going to have my first sober day talking to my dad on the phone. And all it took was for me to put up against the wall to cease fighting anything or anyone. Let me tell you, I'm not good at that. Every day, every morning, I wake up all over again and I am an addict with food, with an unmanageable life, and I get to reconnect with God. I work in radio, so I like saying that my antenna is busted and I get to straighten it out every morning with prayer and meditation. My receiver is busted and I get to fix it every morning. And the reason is the first thing I do. If I start going rogue, my brain likes to go rogue. And that brings me to this really important thing that I love in step 5, uh, uh, in the AA 12 and 12. If you don't have it, get it. Um, uh, it's my second favorite book after the big book, and it just reminds me of the not doing things alone. Uh, More realism and therefore more honesty about ourselves are great gains we make under the influence of step 5. As we took inventory, we began to suspect how much trouble self delusion had been causing us. Boy, oh boy, ain't that the truth? I couldn't even hear myself sometimes what I was saying. I used to lie without even thinking about it. Just roll right off my tongue. The excuses and the things I would talk smack about how other people were doing things, and there I was doing it. Same song, different lyrics. It goes on, as we took in blah blah self-delusion had been causing us. This had brought us a disturbing reflection. If all our lives we had more or less fooled ourselves, how could we now be so sure that we weren't still self-deceived? How could we be certain that we had made a true catalog of our defects and had really admitted them even to ourselves, because we were still bothered by fear, self-pity, and hurt feelings? Holy crap. Did they write this book about me? um it was probable we couldn't appraise ourselves fairly at all. Too much guilt and remorse might cause us to dramatize and exaggerate our shortcomings. Um, I've never been accused of being dramatic or exaggerating things. Yes, I have. Or anger and hurt pride might be the smokescreen under which we were hiding some of our defects while we blamed others for them. Possibly, too, we were still handicapped by many liabilities, great and small, we never knew we had. I have such a blind spot with these things. I am blind to my own BS, but I will happily co-sign it. So the 12 and 12 tells us that, and then what it's great news, don't worry, right? It's not all bad news. Hence, it was most evident that a solitary self-appraisal and the admission of our defects based upon that alone wouldn't be nearly enough. We'd have to have outside help if we were surely to know and admit the truth about ourselves, the help of God and another human being. Only by discussing ourselves, holding back nothing, only by being willing to take advice and accept direction could we set foot on the road to straight thinking, solid honesty, and genuine humility. There is nothing I have to do alone. And I will say that till I'm blue in the face, and practice that till I'm blue in the face. There's nothing I have to do alone. By myself, I am a reality denier. I hit up people to help me write an email, when I'm cranky at salespeople, right? when I'm in fear, I've asked people to go places with me. I've talked things out with folks. I mean, I love telling the story about how once, this is maybe like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 years ago, I was I was getting a guest at the front of the building, and we've got like these swipey door things, and I was getting him for a host, one of my hosts, and I got the door, and the guy said, "Hey, thanks for fetching me," and my face turned red hot. I was beet red. I was livid because I'm like, what do you mean? I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean? Thanks for fetching you. Like, I'm a dog. I'm a manager here, sir. Don't you know who I am? I'm very important and very critical to the operations of this blah, 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 blah. And I dropped it off and I held on to it for a while, so much so that I came back to my office and I started Googling, is fetching someone offensive? That's insane. And I'm hot about it, and I'm still not willing to like call anyone on it. I get on the phone and I'm driving, and I've got like an hour drive home, and it took about to minute 47 where I'm like, you know what's a good idea? If I call my sponsor, I hit him up, I tell him the story just like I told you, and he says, long pause. He goes, Lewis, that's crazy. Solid self-appraisal just ain't gonna cut it for me. That's the kind of wacky stuff that I do. And I wish I could, you know, I wish that wasn't the case sometimes. Um, because I like to think back. I want There are days where I want to forget what it was like and think about all the happy, and it's great. I love it. But I want to forget how that night I sat there with the phone so heavy, not wanting to call anyone. And I remember thinking like, I can do this alone, right? I had a pull myself up from my bootstraps mentality. I don't need anyone. Why do I need to tell anyone my secrets? Why do I need anyone to know what's going on with me? I have a presentable front, and that's all you get. But again, right, we go back into the big book, page 124. Knowing others who suffer, how we were given help is the very thing which makes life seem so worthwhile to us now. Cling to the thought that in God's hands, the dark past is the greatest possession you have, the key to life and happiness for others. With it, you can avert death and misery for them. So I don't come here to go, woe is me. I don't, the pity party for Lewis is over today. I don't sit here for you to feel bad for me or sit there and go, oh, like, poor guy or whatever. My hope is that you don't have to get to those lengths. I hope it doesn't take you sitting in an emergency room. I hope it doesn't take disaster for you to fully give yourself up to a higher power. I hope it doesn't take the whole world falling apart or just having it feel like it for you to cease fighting. It doesn't have to be that. So many wonderful things have happened since. Repaired relationships, it's the biggest one. Reconnections with family, friends. I moved to a whole other city and I effectively cut everyone off, making amends, cleaning up my side of the street, not building this recovery like on a landfill. Still cleaning up stuff as I go, right? Actually, right, giving stuff over to my higher power, right? I'm a visual person. I love seeing sort of these bins and circles of stuff that's in front of me today. And it's so funny. God's pile is so massive, right? I just keep chucking stuff in it. Not my business, not my problem, not my issue, right? I don't need to worry about that today. And I just keep throwing stuff on the pile, stuff on the pile. And oddly enough, God is yet to go like, dude, that's enough. God hasn't gone like, cut it out already. God hasn't said, I don't want to hear your crap. Oddly enough, none of you have said that to me either. And what I have in front of me today is so small. It's so small. And the best part is, not all of them are hills to die on. Not all of them are life or death. And that's such a gift, to accept help when it's offered. I'll embarrass her if I know she's here. Like Susan, one of the first times we met, like she took me grocery shopping to show me how to do that. Now she'll tell you that I kept accidentally hitting the back of her feet with the shopping cart, but I think that's not true. Uh, but she didn't have to do that. We didn't even have the friendship we have today, right? She saw a guy in trouble. Another man took my call every hour on the hour, my first day without the food. Every hour on the hour, just so I could tell him I didn't eat. People who heard me, my crazy, right, and told me, great, fantastic, glad you told me, and that there is a solution. There's a solution. If you're struggling today, like doesn't doesn't have to be this way. And that was the scariest and exciting thing for me. It doesn't have to be this way. Today I've gotten so many gifts, and sometimes I've gotten exactly what I asked for, and that's been trouble too. You know, uh,
3 minutes.
that's 3 minutes. Okay. And that's been trouble too sometimes, right? Because I was like, years ago, I was like, I want a seat at the table. I want to make decisions. I want to do this. Great, Lewis, you're promoted, and here you have to fire 3 people. Guess what? Next year, you're going to fire 12. Holy crap. Maybe I don't want. But, right, in the 12 and 12, it talks about, I think it's a step 3 or 4. It talks about, we see these fellows around us who have faith that worked under all conditions, right? Walk through seemingly impossible situations. And we saw that we wanted that, and the price for it was just humility. Pride, ego, they lead the parade of all my bad ideas and my character defects. And if I can get those out of the way, I'm free to be helpful. Someone had a definition for recovered and recovery as restored to usefulness. I feel restored to usefulness today, and I'm glad I asked for 3 minutes, because the thing I wanted to end on was one of my favorite stories in the big book. Is in the back. It's page 510, and it's just this last page in particular that really hits me hard, because it kind of, I tend to ramble sometimes, but this sort of kind of encapsulates everything I feel about this. It says, the meetings gave me what my sponsor likes to call the most important words in the big book. AA put a we in my life. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol. I no longer had to be alone. Fellowship and activity kept me coming back long enough to work the 12 steps. The more I did, the better I felt. I started hanging out with my sponsor and some active people at the meetings. They showed me how gratitude is something that is demonstrated, not talked about. Gratitude is action. They suggested I was lucky to still have a car, even though it was a junker. Therefore, I might consider taking the less fortunate to meetings. They reminded me you can't teach anything to a know-it-all, so remain teachable. When old behaviors started to creep back in, they called me on it. When life just didn't feel right, they talked about developing faith and relying on my higher power. They told me lack of power was my dilemma and that there is a solution. I took to AA immediately and believed like a child that if I leveled my pride enough to thoroughly follow their path, I'd get what they had, and it worked. It worked. It's working today. And I'll tell you straight up, there's nothing special about what I did. There's nothing special about me, right? I like to say, I'm just a dopey guy who ran out of ideas. I was just tired of fighting, right? I was Roberto Duran, no mas. It's a sports boxing thing. If you look it up, it's pretty good. But
It's time.
that's time, right on time. Thanks for letting me share, everyone.
Oh, Lewis, thank you so much for what a wonderful message of depth and weight. And I just was reminded, I normally read from the big book, but I was reminded of something when you spoke on the AA 12 and 12. But now we see ourselves as chips off the same old block. At heart, we all had been abnormally fearful. It mattered little whether we had sat on the shore of life drinking ourselves into forgetfulness or had plunged into recklessly and willfully beyond our depth and ability. The result was the same. All of us had nearly perished in a sea of alcohol. But today, in well matured AAs, these distorted drives have been restored to do something like their true purpose and direction. We no longer strive to dominate or rule those about us in order to gain self importance. We no longer seek fame and honour in order to be praised. When, by devoted service to family, friends, business, or community, we attract widespread affection and are sometimes singled out for posts of greater responsibility and trust, we try to be humbly grateful and exert ourselves the more in a spirit of love and service. True leadership, we find, depends upon able example and not upon vain displays of power and glory. Thank you so much again, Lewis. If we all give him a big hand, that would be